Hi, welcome to the Bourne Partners podcast. I'm Chelsea Ingle, and we are recording live from DCAT 2026. Today's conversation builds on our latest CDMO report, where we examine how AI adoption and readiness are emerging as key themes across the CDMO landscape. I'll let Don take it away with the introductions. Don?
Well, thanks, Chelsea. Hello, my name is Donald Toker. I am the Director of Research here at Bourne Partners. Last month in February, we published a deep dive research report on the CDMO marketplace. We discussed a number of trends impacting CDMOs with a particular focus on artificial intelligence, or AI. AI adoption, of course, is still very nascent among CDMOs, but therein lies the opportunity, we argued in our report, for forward-looking CDMOs to lean into AI enablement and differentiate their businesses. So we're super excited to have a chance to have a brief conversation with John Chiminski. John Chiminski is a senior advisor here at Bourne Partners and the former chairman and chief executive officer of Catalent, certainly an authority on the CDMO marketplace and pharma services. So John, thanks so much for your time. We're lucky to have you. So I definitely want to talk about AI, but I also want to maybe kind of step back and here we are at DCAT 2026, and I wanted to get your sort of maybe some broader perspectives on sort of the state of the CDMO landscape. I mean, I guess from the outside looking in, things look pretty good. Funding environment, FDA seems to be moving stuff along.
Okay, that's one way to look at it.
Okay, well,
I would first say that let's all just still realize that we're still post-COVID.
Yeah.
And I know that seems really retro for people to talk about COVID, but I would say that we're finally reaching a normalization stage. There was a lot of overinvestment by our customers in pharma and biotech. Everybody was reaching for very big things to solve big problems. And, the CDMOs stepped up, did what we had to do, really became a trusted partner. And then it was like we were all at the Mardi Gras, and then we had a hangover afterwards.
Yeah.
And, some things happened where, we had the IRA happen also, which definitely had, pharma rejiggering their pipelines, and that impacted clinical trials. There was a slowdown in venture capital. So I would say, you're starting to get to a point where I think, we're back to a level of smoothness from a CDMO standpoint. There's no doubt that it's a great space to be in. It's got long-term structural gains that are going to happen. The outsourcing is going to continue. We still have massive investments in CDMO companies. They're great from an operations and quality standpoint. They're now a trusted partner. And there's, GLPs ones are giving us some tailwind. There's some other modalities like ADCs that there's a lot of excitement there. So there's a lot of good things, but at the end of the day, in pharma services and specifically in CDMOs, you have to run them well every day. There's always challenges. On the FDA standpoint, they may be working towards more approvals, but they're also making sure that they have a compliant supply base and compliant customers. So it's something that you always have to be really paying attention to. And we've seen, certain companies get in trouble with warning letters and things of that nature. So it is our business. I would say we're in calmer waters now, and we're back into some more normalcy from a CDMO standpoint.
Well, I think that's positive. We're back to normal. So that's improvement from. So let's talk about AI a little bit, because I think that's kind of where we focused on our report. I think it's kind of an interesting topic. I kind of get a feel like within pharma and within health, life science, I feel like CDMOs and pharma manufacturing is sort of lagging maybe some other areas like clinical trials. I don't know if that's fair. Do you agree? And then maybe what are some of the
I would certainly say that
barriers?
the adoption is not fast enough.
Yeah,
And that's not a knock on pharma
course not.
or on, the CDMOs. Let's just start with, we're in a highly regulated space.
Yep.
So how it's used, where it's used, there's also guidelines of where you can use machine language versus using, data models and so forth. So there's a little bit of the regulated space. That being said, absolutely, from a CDMO standpoint, it's not being used and used fast enough. huge opportunities. I will tell you, first of all, AI is moving faster than anything I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. Forget about career.
I agree.
And, day to day it changes.
Yep.
And if you remember, we were at the Bourne Summit in October, and I was still shocked at the number of people not using it or not having a firm plan on how they were going to use it in their business. And I hope all those people have done something since October, because things aren't moving still. I've talked about this a lot. I'll just reiterate, when you think about CDMOs, talk about the basics of manufacturing finished dosage form. Our life is ruled by something called a batch record,
Mhm.
and then the deviations that follow.
Yeah.
Because those batch records are, basically what you had your, drug approved on, and you follow that recipe, but sometimes that recipe can be somewhat challenging. That leads to a deviation. Is that deviation a minor, major, or critical?
Sure.
And then you have to get to the root cause, then do your kappa, and you got to do that for tens and sometimes hundreds on a batch record, most minor, but it's a massive churn within a CDMO. If you can actually, within your walls, have your, use AI with your data
Mhm.
that actually has a pre-population of what the potential root causes are, can then give you guidance on how to firmly identify the root cause, and then generate a corrective action, preventative action for that deviation. Massive improvements, both from a productivity standpoint and a quality standpoint. So we're talking about less people, higher quality. Think about it from an operations standpoint with, all of the machines that we have.
Mhm.
And you always have something which is OEE. So what is that? Machine efficiency. And we're always trying to get the most amount of those machines, basically keeping them running, right? So that we have output. And now, we would have people analyzing that data, or we weren't even collecting it properly.
Yep.
With AI, you can make a massive difference. Here at DCAT, there wasn't a single person I talked to that hasn't somehow mentioned AI. There was one small molecule company that was talking about how it was just incredible what it came up with for working on, for example, deviations in
Sure.
kappas and so forth. You can use it on pipelines. You can use it in managing your people. You can use it in contracting. I mean, lawyers, I'm sorry. We're going to need a lot less of you guys. We're going to be using a lot more AI because, quite frankly, we know what are the critical terms that we need to negotiate.
Mhm.
It will help us putting those contracts together, and it'll help us to negotiate the best deal that, is fair for the CDMO. So, I mean, I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
I really, well, in
So let-
pipelines,
let-
I got to say one last thing, pipelines.
Yeah.
Like, right now it's a potluck. You go out there and you try to find the best molecules you can, and you bring them into the system. You don't know which molecules are ultimately going to be successful, but if you can go back and say, okay, what are the disease states that have, the best funding against them from the best companies with, higher approval rates from the FDA? I don't know, put whatever you want into that model, and it's spit it out. You can now redirect your business development workforce, which is probably, by the way, the hardest thing we do in CDMOs is really put a good business development team and then hunt and build that funnel to the biggest number. So I could keep rolling on this. There's a huge amount of uses for it, and I'm just talking about tactical ones at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff to talk about. So, I guess maybe with that, John, I'll thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Love being part of Bourne Partners.
Thank you again for listening to the Bourne Partners podcast. Be sure to visit our website at bourne-partners.com to read more of our research. Also, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter to be the first to receive our proprietary Bourne Partners research. Have a great day.